Well, at dawn here in Washington, dozens of protesters were leaving the home of one resident who sheltered more than 60 peaceful demonstrators overnight to protect them from being arrested. The protesters say they were trapped by police between two streets as the curfew was setting in on Monday night with nowhere to go. As the curfew was taking effect, some were arrested, others sheltered inside this Good Samaritan's home, they say, after being pepper sprayed. Joining me now is Raul Dubé, who sheltered the protesters in his home in Washington, D.C. last night. Raul, thanks very much for talking to us. Walk us through what happened.
Andrea, thanks so much for telling the story of these amazing 70-plus souls that were seeking sanctuary in our house. It was a peaceful protest on my street, Swan Street. I've lived on for years, right outside my house, about 5 houses down. There were about 40 police officers waiting for peaceful protesters that were just walking down Swan Street, and they pinned them in, and they had nowhere to go, and Swan Street's one way. And I was standing on my steps, and a couple people had sat on the steps, and I said, sure, asked if they could sit on the steps. I said, sure. One asked if they could plug in their cell phone because they'd been peacefully marching all day. I said, no problem. A couple asked if they could use the bathroom. Okay, no problem. 2 people asked if they could escape through the alley because they were pinned in and they needed wanted to head up toward the north away from Lafayette Park. So I walked them through the backyard and I came back out. I was outside on my stoop for about 15 seconds and absolute mayhem and horror broke out. I heard a big bang, screaming, pepper spray started flying. My eyes were burning. I just started yelling, get in the house. There was this sense of a human tsunami coming down the street and police beating on people, putting their faces down on cement. It was happening really fast. I just kept the door open, and kids were 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 50-year-olds were coughing, running up for about 10 minutes, just streaming into the house as fast as they could until the police line passed my front door, and there were no more protesters kind of in the wake there. And I rushed back in the house and I locked the door, and they started spraying pepper spray in through the window. This is the first time I'm seeing these videos that are showing up now. It's gut-wrenching that this is happening. And then inside for an hour and a half, people are crying. They're throwing milk on their eyes, and they're helping each other and giving each other medical care, and the police are taunting them outside. And, after an hour and a half and the days kind of lifted and the air dissipated from pepper spray, I just saw a beautiful sight of everyone really coming together. They're perfect strangers. They didn't know each other at all. They were just oppressed for just marching peacefully. All they were saying 15 seconds before mayhem broke out and the force of the authorities came down was, let us through, let us through. It was the last video I took, and 15 seconds later, my America changed.
Well, let me ask you, just because the police chief raised this issue, were they out after curfew? Was that the issue, or were they blocked in and couldn't get home? Tell me, from your perspective at least, what what happened.
I know what happened. Talking to people that were in this house, throughout the house, on the 3rd floor, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, I was asking them where they were coming from and how they had gotten here. With 12, 13 hours to kill. And, they were up on 14th and W, which in this area is much more north from my house right now. They were forced back down onto Swan, which is one way. It was a tactical move. And then they followed them and pushed them into a barricade, police barricade that was waiting on the other corner of Swan. And it was, as soon as that block got filled, the police unleashed hell.
Now, let me ask you what you did with all of these people overnight, because I saw them coming out at dawn. Our own local NBC station was there. So how did you take care of folks overnight in your home?
Everyone took care of each other. Everyone grabbed a piece of square footage on hardwood floors, and some spots are wet with milk, and they all just took care of each other. They were helping clean. We ordered pizza. We were sharing stories. They were telling about why they were protesting. Intimate story with a young 22-year-old who has issues with his parents and how he has a broken relationship with them, but he's working on it. I mean, we got to know each other really well, and it was a beautiful display of these souls and brave souls that really came together in a time that it's unimaginable. Andrea, I wish I could put it in words right now. It's just, it's too fresh. And more importantly, one of the last things I said to them as we were leaving out the house, we had to coordinate efforts to get them out through the back alley and the front door, was talk to people. What has happened is traumatic. Do not keep it inside. We are here for each other, and we are our vulnerabilities. It's what makes us who we are. And, you know, what happened after that first hour and a half of pure brutality and terror was something beautiful. Neighbors started coming and dropping off food, leaving notes. Lawyers were calling and offering up advice. The local pizza place helped me to get pizza through a secret alleyway, which is unbelievable that we all kind of came on board when the police were trying to bait us to come outside so they could arrest these 70-plus people.
A slice of life during the protests in the midst of a pandemic, we should note, in a big city. Thank you very much, Raul. Thanks for talking to us today. And coming up after